What's up guys, it's Punchy, and right now it's time to discuss the new Moonseye weapons that just released in Deepwoken's latest patch. I'll start with how to obtain these weapons, and then shift directly into the showcase. And without further ado, let's get right into it. To obtain these items, we must go to a new Deepwoken location called the Moonseye. This island is a completely new location which can be found far east on Deepwoken's map. So apparently, this spot had a trail of whirlpools leading to it, but we can just head east through the Void Sea. After a small time traveling, you should see a new island, which is the Moonseye. Once at this island, it's a pretty simple process to parkour up and get yourself to that Moonseye vault. During this parkour process, there are 3 breakable pillars that we must destroy with our weapon, and they will lose their glow after their health is all gone. So simply break all 3, head on over to the side of the Moonseye vault, and pop open the door by interacting with it. After this, you should fight a Moon Knight Golem, which rewards a chest with a chance to obtain either one of these new items, and yeah, this quest is pretty cool and unique. Now, let's move on to the showcase. First off, with the Soulthorn, this weapon is a jagged Moonseye blade with an interesting laser sort of edge. This thing looks pretty interesting with the runic particles and glowing arcane hilt that somewhat looks like the artifacts that we do see in game. Anyway, let's begin with the actual gameplay. When using the Soulthorn, you should notice a few things happening after landing a successful M1. By hitting your target, this will add something to them that I call the soul counter, and it's a universal stack that any Soulthorn user can harness. Each M1 landed procs a single soul counter, and landing 3 marks that target with a glowing soul tag, which I'll also discuss in a second. For this weapon, you really want to land your M1s because that soul counter is extremely important. Discussing the criticals for this weapon, there are 3 different forms. So, by activating your crit normally while targeting an opponent with 0 soul counter stacks, the Soulthorn rejects our attack and leaves us standing still. If you want to use your critical to attack, you must be targeting somebody with at least 1 soul counter stack. Unfortunately, at 0 stacks, we can't use our critical to block break, but at least this weapon does have increased chip damage, which can help you out. Now, if your target has at least 1 stack and isn't glowing, we can activate the Soulthorn's Soul Chop. So, from a distance, we critical to sacrifice all our current soul counter stacks to slam our target down. This chop is fairly ranged, ragdolls the enemy and pulls them towards us, and also, just like I mentioned before, soul counter stacks are universal, so anybody can do this on a tagged player, even if they didn't land any attacks themselves. Now, against a fully marked player, we can activate something I call the Soul Charge. When a target is glowing, our critical attack teleports to them with a charged up multi-hit slash that does solid damage. Honestly, this weapon is pretty unique, and I haven't seen anything like it before in Deepwoken. It's very reliant on landing M1s, and we get that payoff, which is nice to see. Next up, with the Nocturne, this dual-wield weapon is really cool and pretty easy to mess around with on builds. This weapon is not a legendary option, allowing us to be pretty creative in builds alongside enchants. It's one of the only dual-wield swords in the entire game, and it does look crazy. Moving on to gameplay, this thing's swing animation looks very similar to the curved Blade of Winds, but don't worry, it's not dealing double damage or anything crazy. The M1s are pretty normal with just the animation. Anyway, on the critical attack, there's 2 different options when it comes to using it in combat, but it's basically only one. By pressing the crit, we stab our opponent while placing a slowdown status indicated by the Moonseye symbol. Now, by instantly pressing attack after the crit lands, we will TP teleport to them once again, increasing the slowdown effect that is already applied. Although it is pretty straightforward and easy to use, I think this weapon will be interesting with a bunch of different enchants, so the Moonseye weapons are really cool and I like what they did so far. But as always, please leave your thoughts down below. Anyway, that's all for right now, and for even more exclusive content, make sure to like and subscribe. We're so close to 90k subs, and let's get there. Thanks again, it's punchin' time.